Good morning and welcome back. This is Brad Ferland, your host on Vermont Viewpoint here at WDEV, talking with Conal O'Brien. He was longtime director of two major soap operas, one in New York, one in California, All My Children, Young and the Restless. He's the author of two great books, which if you haven't read them, you can jump in your car and run to the local bookstore. Birth of the Angel, Death of Television. So we're about the same age. I'm March, April, May, June, July. 4 months older, so you're older. But same year, same vintage. And I'm kind of looking at life right now too. We're at least I'll speak for myself. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. And,
yeah.
And so a couple of things I want to ask you. One is, do we know much about you from your books? And where are you headed? What's your goal right now?
You will know a great deal about me from my books. My older brother, Vince, he finished reading the books. He said, "Is this about us?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
Now, don't get that wrong. It has a murder in it.
Yeah.
A thrill. No.
Now, wait a minute. What are we?
No. No. But a character flees the scene of the crime. She's in a small town in New Jersey. She gets in her car and there's a path, a journey that she runs through this town, ends up in a forest. It's my hometown. It's Vince's hometown that we grew up in. As I said, the lead characters live in the Ansonia. I lived in the Ansonia for years. That apartment is the apartment I actually lived in.
Yeah.
It's really fun to do that.
Yeah.
But more than that, all the characters, I love writing them because even though they may appear momentarily to be horrendous or very good,
very bad.
Or very bad.
Yeah.
The thing in the middle, there's always a place to relate, and that's what I write. I'm writing about redemption, ultimately.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get inside of all these characters, and when I succeed, it writes very quickly, and I really love that. And where we're heading, was that the second part of that?
Yeah.
It's a nice question. In the practical, simple way, the next book. And where we're heading is your word. It's the journey. It's the exploration of who we are every day, doing what we do, trying to approach life with kindness and trying to help other people. And there's something about using the gifts that you were given. So we started this program, my portion of the program, talking about my dad was an actor, my mom was an actor, very talented people. And so for me to write scenes in my book, which I call them scenes, even though it's not a play form, it is a novel form, I feel like it's characters from a play, something you might hopefully one day see on television in one of those episodics like a Netflix series.
Yeah.
That has been talked about and thought about. We were rooting for that sort of thing. But the point is to involve myself in it, to give a piece of myself into what I'm writing. And it's definitely not biographical, autobiographical. It is a story about fictional characters. But I'm enjoying that. I think that's what I'm meant to be doing.
Was there a cathartic piece in terms of personal development for you to do the writing?
Gosh, as I said, I had a lot of pieces along the way that I was writing and doing. I tell you two things. One is probably the most supportive being in my life was my grandmother, my father's mother. She lived with us. And anything I wrote, any song I wrote, anything I did, she had unconditional love for me. And it could need something. Other people would say, well, that lyric, that you could fix. But she wasn't that person. She would throw her arms around you and say, this is great. Thank you, has never left. And so that's what this feels like now. It takes a lot of courage to write your first book, especially after you've done something else for so long. I had kind of wonder if I could do it. Like, can I get through a long form? You can write something short, but to put out the longer form. And I just had a feeling of my grandmother. I just felt I could do it.
And we talked, you know, your parents had an influence. On this show, I talk about the apple falling from the tree, and does it stay below or does it roll as fast as it can away because of different things, right?
Right.
And we do talk about the good and the bad, right? And that's what writing is about, good and evil and in between and all of that.
Yes. You're asking a question that I know that you've looked at a great deal because of where you come from and your father and the things you write about. And I could ask you those same questions, and I know you can answer them. Is how much of you is in your writing? Well, I read your writing on Facebook and such. All of you is in your writing. You write beautifully.
Thank you.
How much of it is from where you come from and your experience? All of it. It has made you who you are. And the apple from the tree, it's a curious expression, but whether we're like the apple or the tree, it's almost immaterial. It's still all of you. You use it every day. You're using it now. When you talk to me, you talk to anyone here. It's us. It's what we become.
Yeah. And that one of the points I think that we head towards with this is you can always get from someplace to someplace else, right? You can, and I believe that everybody has a gift and everybody has this something in their soul. We get distracted by things, you know, and external forces that are, you know, not always good,
yeah.
But we can, the mantra on my show at least is there's always hope. You can always move forward.
That's right.
And you're not alone, right? None of us wrote, you know, awful things. It exists in life.
That's absolutely true. And that's what I was saying about, you asked me, what am I in this book? I am. And the understanding and the forgiveness that not everybody is good and not everybody is bad. Do they do bad things and good things? Absolutely.
Yeah.
This, you know, we live in a moment which is so polarized, politically, certainly, in sports, probably not my thing, but notably politically. Is everybody all good or bad because you root for them or not? I understand the strong feeling, but the answer has to be no. Somebody who is bad has done something good. Someone who's good has done something they regret. So it's not an absolute, even where you come from. It's what you learn. It's all the things we're talking about now. It's the next moment. What's yours, Brad? Where are you heading?
My goal is to get a book out, hopefully, sooner than later. I have been in search of this, what you said with your grandmother. The whole premise of unconditional love is really at the top of the food chain. And, you know, we learn that from our children often, or we learn it from our animals. We don't always do it great relationally as human beings. But if that was at the sort of the top of the food chain, if everybody said, I love you each day, right, to anybody, that's a pretty good lead in.
I agree.
And it's also your grandmother thing I think is so important is, just saying, you know, you did good, you know, that's absolutely a beautiful song you did, or that piece of writing is beautiful. And then you go, ooh.
I don't want to embarrass you, but you put out a piece just before the holidays, before Christmas, and it was of your experiences and what you were doing, the farm and in relationship to nature. And you must have been pleased with the response you got, people writing back to you after you posted that. I found it very touching. You know, they're getting you. They're liking what you read. But more than that, it meant something to the people who read it. That's the best any writer can hope for. It's great.
Well, thank you for that. And I have very generous friends, and they go, oh, Bradley Ferland.
I don't think so.
Let's give him a little bit of love.
Oh.
So you've got these great books, Birth of the Angel, Death of Television. We're, as usual, running out of time, but a new book, when does it hit hit the market, or do
scheduled
we
for
know?
the fall of this year, 2025. It should be out.
Wow.
I know, late September, early October. Not yet determined what it is. It follows these first two books. It's book 3 of the series. In my stuff, you can read any one of them and have satisfaction of a murder mystery, or read all of them and follow the characters.
Yeah, because you did the scene and then you did the next scene,
That's
right?
it. People go on.
And listeners, Birth of the Angel, Death of Television, and then a new book in the fall. You can learn more about Conal by reading it. You can learn more about life by reading it. And if you've got a gift, which you do, follow it.
Amen.
So thank you so much for being with me today. It's just wonderful to have you. You're a great friend, and we can't wait to see the new book.
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for having me on.
This is Brad Ferland, Vermont Viewpoint, here at WDEV. I get to do Mondays and Tuesdays this month. So we've got Burlington Police Chief coming up, I think, next week. Be interesting to hear his perspective on things. And thank you, listener. We can't do radio without you.